Hello and welcome. This is Terry Roberts with Destinations International. We are the trade association for convention and visitors bureaus. And thank you for logging on today to be part of our webinar on attendance promotion, 5 must-dos to increase attendance at your next meeting. I want to just remind you all, if you didn't see it on the pre-screen, that if you have questions for our panelists or want to make any comments, you can certainly use your GoToMeeting dashboard and put those in the question box. And Elaine Rothquist and Kate Skidmore are monitoring the questions, and we'll make sure that we get to those at the end. So without further ado, we'll get started, and I am really excited today to welcome our panelists and my good friend Lauren Gold, who is the Executive Vice President of the Greater Raleigh CVB. And also to welcome Chris Wessel. Chris is the Chief Visionary Officer for ePro Direct, and Chris is our sponsor and just a great supporter of our webinar program. But let me tell you a little bit more about Lauren, since he is going to be primarily heading the charge here today. Lauren has been in Raleigh since 2005 as the Executive Vice President since 2017, where he is responsible, and I shouldn't have said 2017. That's not right, is it, Lauren? When
2007, Terry. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm dating you there. 2007. And
yeah, no
Lauren, I know you lead the development of the strategic sales services and marketing programs there in Raleigh, but you also come from a deep background of senior sales manager experience, both with Wyndham and Marriott Hotels. So you wear a lot of hats and have worn a lot of hats. Lauren also serves on our board of directors for Destinations International and is really involved in the CVB industry at large. But we really primarily asked him here today, not because he's just so smart and engaging, but also because he was our chair of our Convention Sales and Marketing Attendance Task Force, Attendance Promotion Task Force in 2017. So we look forward, Lauren, to hearing a lot of your insights on this topic.
Absolutely.
All right, so here's the road we're headed down. We're going to talk a little bit about some recent attendee and planner perceptions, and then Lauren is going to launch into really talking about this actionable template. So 5 pillars or areas that planners can engage with to support and fuel your attendance promotion practices. And hopefully you will discover ways in which you do not have to start from scratch, and you can use the services of your destination experts to make your job just a whole lot easier. So Lauren, we know everybody cares about attendance promotion because we know attendees are the lifeblood of meetings and events. So I did mention that you chaired up this task force, this industry task force on attendance promotion practices. So why was the industry and Destinations International interested in this? What was the motivation for creating the task force?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, Terry, was something that we've known for at least a short period of time, where we've done a lot of deeper dive into not only the CVB channel and the CVB brand, but perceptions from planners, and that's just inconsistencies of offerings. And our approach, it's plagued our industry a little bit, in full disclosure. And we've gotten feedback from planners that they cite, from destination to destination, there's always a difference in offerings, and it leaves planners not to know what to expect from destination to destination. So sometimes it's due to the size of the CVB, sometimes it's due to budget and staff and a number of different factors. So we saw a very unique opportunity here to align on some common goals through the Convention Sales and Marketing Committee, and specifically to form this task force to start to really kind of build an awareness for the planner community, and really to try to help planners to fully understand the support available for attendance promotion through CVBs, and really not just the sales contacts, but more importantly, the services contact. And I think a lot of planners have known that, but really trying to bring our marketing teams into the fold as well. One of the things that we saw that we've really been following closely over the last 3 years is Destinations International's Futures Study. And one of the things, this was a perception study, inward facing to the CVB channel, but one of the things that we know probably with regards to top 20 trends, is the world is becoming very digital and digital oriented and digital reliant. So we felt like we as a collective channel have done a good job in pulling together content, and we in turn feel like we can offer that to the planning community. I think the other thing that's very important to note within that same future study that was tied to Destination Next is we feel like as a channel, we need to move from more of a transactional type of sales approach to more of a strategic sales approach with our planners, and really move from broadcasting content to really more engagement. So I think those are some factors. And I think finally, CVBs are the #1 source for local expertise and knowledge, and we feel like we can use that to help leverage and work with planners to gain a greater attendance number for their events.
Well, that's a great foundation and jumping point, Lauren. And you mentioned the study, so I want to talk to just quickly kind of show some results. So this is from the Future of the Meetings Industry Study, which was our August webinar topic. And if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into this, it's on our blog in our recorded webinar section. But when planners were surveyed about their success metrics, what makes a meeting successful? It's probably not too surprising that attendee satisfaction and attendee registration rank at the top across all market segments, all types of planners. So this says attendees are important to planners. Then when we ask them on a little bit deeper note, who do you trust? Who do you consider to be the most expert resource in the destination? We were excited to see that the CVB ranked high, strongly agree as the most expert resource in the destination. So attendees are important, registration is equally important, and CVBs are seen as a resource for what is exciting and interesting and available in the destination. But then when we got a little bit deeper in our survey, we see that we think, and this goes back to your awareness point, that we need to do a better job of communicating how planners can tap into these resources. So if you look at the top of this slide, this was a slide where we were asking planners which CVB services that they valued or tapped into. So you can see, Lauren, that high digital mark there at the top, digital marketing material, 75%. But then you see all the way at the bottom, attendance building tools in general, beyond just that digital content, only 38% taking advantage of those opportunities. So that's kind of why we're here today. When we, again, now this is a different survey. This was a PCMA Convene e-panel survey in April of this year. And we really wanted to specifically ask which particular attendance promotion practices were valuable. And you can see here, planners making a strong statement, knowing that they need advice and consultation in the destination. They really want to be able to do that great matching between destination assets and their attendee profile. So that's kind of a little base. So Lauren, why don't you just quickly tell us how the task force approached looking at attendance promotion practices?
Right. So the task force in its core came out of, once again, the Convention Sales and Marketing Committee. Many sales leaders like myself on a varying level of sizes of cities were the initial appointees. And then we knew that services and marketing needed to be to the table. So we identified a variety of different folks that could be a part of the process. And then we went about setting a mission and an objective for the task force. It was really to clarify, the pathway to maximum attendance promotion. But we had to ask ourselves some questions. First, what were the most fundamental attendance promotion tools and processes needed to support the planner? How do we profile the attendee? How, are we doing that consistently across all CVBs? And where does that happen? Does it start at the sales kickoff point, or does it wait until services gets it turned over from sales? What connections should be made, not only beyond sales and services, but to other parts of the bureau and the CVB staff? what's doing well in the industry? Where are there some not only best practices, but maybe next practices? Some of our CVBs that are out there that are doing a great job in this space. And then what autopiloted behaviors are not serving us well? What are some things that we've been doing consistently year in and year out for probably the last 10 or 15 years, and are they still relevant, and do they still have application to where we are trying to lead this task force? So those were some of the biggest missions and objectives related to the assembly of the task force.
And then I know, Lauren, that we stepped in and we had planners we had an esteemed group of planners. We had them give us some feedback on that. And then we went out and spot some examples of some great execution. We'll share a few of those today. So let's jump right in to the 5 pillars. There's the 5 fundamental areas of support that we felt all planners who put together good attendance promotion practices should consider, and all areas in which their CVB partners could help them. So we'll go through them one by one, but you see them listed there. And Lauren, I'm excited for you to kind of give a little bit more information. So we think that it's always important, the task force determined that the conversation should be up front, and that the conversation should involve consultation and making sure that destination assets aren't generic, but that's really profiled and applied to some attendee behavior. So why don't you talk a little bit more about what this process should really look like?
Yeah, so we alluded to the fact earlier about kind of moving more from a transactional heads and beds and meeting space and things of that nature, and really moving more towards a strategic process. So I think conversation and consultative is important. One of the things that we really uncovered in the task force work was that conversation needs to start with the sales manager, director that's working directly with the planner, and that you really need to kind of consider the most compelling options in working with an attendee profile, and then trying to align those attendee profiles to a destination asset. So there are some tools and resources that have come out of some of this work. One is a behavior profile template that was developed by the Experience Institute, which is another strategic partner with DI, and or some sort of checklist that sales can work to gain attendee insight through the event planner, and to then try to match destination offerings to that. Really trying to stay away from just kind of generic, but really taking a deeper dive, looking at the demographics of the organization, things that are drivers as to why people attend. Hopefully the event planner has some previous information from prior destinations that they've gone to, what's worked well. But really the other thing that we tried to connect here was this local experiential piece, really kind of moving from this knowledge-based to an experience-based proposition for meetings and events. And I think the other thing that we started to identify was that some planners don't even know the right questions to ask the CVBs about attendance promotion services. And it's important for the salesperson right out of the gate to kind of set the tone with that. And then really, once again, trying to qualify the meeting objectives, the attendee behaviors, and this really should be the kickoff point of the sales role and support. Got to educate the planner on how the destination impacts the decision to attend. The CVB professional and planner join together to accurately determine the attendee profile. So once again, very consultative, very much a deep dive into getting a better demographic overall of the attendee. Two things to point out here. For smaller groups, even a short conversation, which produces some sort of informal understanding of the attendees, can help. If you're working with, a CVB for, say, a smaller seminar or conference. And then, regardless of the consultative session, you should really work towards promoting tactics and really trying to bring the destination to the forefront of the decision to attend.
Yeah, and I think this slide, Lauren, really from the decision to attend, which you alluded to, is right. 71% of all attendees say that, in fact, the destination influences their decision, but 20 to 30% say it's a deciding factor. Like where that meeting is held determines whether I decide to make the effort to go or not. So this sitting down, profiling the attendees, and matching compelling destination assets has to be the foundation of creating any good attendance promotion practices. So,
yeah, and I think the other thing to just let the audience know there too, those that aren't familiar with the decision to attend study, that is a study that's been going on for I think about 3 years and has done research with over 16,000 attendees, meeting attendees. So once again, a lot of it is research based. Sorry, Terry, go ahead.
No, that's great. And I see a question on our question board: where can we get the attendee profile template and the checklist? And if you just Google decision to attend 2017, you will find it. And it's great information. So the second pillar, Lauren, and I know a lot of large groups many times contract for this, but how can the destination help you get attendees excited for the next year's meeting at the prior year's meeting?
Correct. One of the things that we identified through the task force was, in fact, step 2 in getting out in front and doing a good job of representing at prior year's meeting. But here are some vital points to that. It's vital to align promotional efforts with the attendee profiling, meaning if that profile is done up front and the planner helps you really kind of determine what the profile is of the attendees, don't show up on site with generic maps, generic brochures, but really try to come on site and really work towards the specifics that were uncovered in that offering. So for instance, if you have a maybe a high percentage of female attendees in the demographic, and the planner has shared with you that there's also some certain downtimes for the attendees during the meeting schedule, and shopping is a big part of a driver to those attendees' profile. Then bring something forth within your on-site offering that really is showcasing shopping or any other key travel driver that's unique to your destination. I think the other thing too is while you're on site, make sure that that our teams are conducting an assessment. They're continuing to ask questions, engage the group, continue to try to do a better job of adding to that attendee profile.
Lauren, I love this comment. We said at the beginning that we asked planners to consult, and one of the comments about this particular pillar was, don't bother to have someone come to your prior year's meeting and just stand in a booth and pass out brochures, that it needs to be personalized and engaging and exciting. And then I also think, Lauren, and you just alluded to this, but that the process of having someone come to your prior year's meeting and attend is as much about gathering intelligence as it is about giving out destination information. So those representatives who come to your meeting, make sure they're prepared to take all that rich intelligence that they glean from being with your attendees, take it back and help you fuel some really specific practices.
Yeah, and I think two of the biggest points here, Terry, are one size does not fit all. Too often that's been our approach in the past. We need to do a better job on behalf of our planner contacts. The other thing to note too for the planners that are in the listening audience, know that once again this is scalable. Once again to the size of your meeting, to the size of the destination. A lot of this stuff can be negotiated up front in either initial proposals and or through the sales process. So a key point there to keep in mind as well.
Well, and there's physical presence at the prior year's meeting. There's also virtual presence. There's also video, B-roll, collateral. So there's a lot of ways, even if it's not affordable for physical presence, to put this pillar into your toolbox.
Absolutely.
All right. Now we're going to get to what probably are thought of more as the wheelhouse of traditional attendance promotion practices. And we call this one Build It and They Will Come. And how does a planner use resources so that they don't have to start from scratch to build the kind of tools and support they may need to create custom sites, destination links, and also to support that email and social marketing campaign, Lauren.
Yes, so this is where I think really where the rubber meets the road, particularly for the CVBs. I alluded to earlier in a lot of the future studies that our organizations have been looking at, and the heavy emphasis on digital and social and engagement, moving from just broadcasting out information to getting much more engaged to the visitor and the overall visitor. That's something that our marketing teams do day to day in the leisure space. And the reality is, when you sit back and think about it, as simplistic as it sounds, when attendees come for a conference, yes, they're there for content, yes, they're there for networking, but they're also a visitor, and they do have, wants and needs, and some want to shop, some want to dine, some want to take in, art or other facets. So here's the ability to really take a deep dive into a destination, and to Terry's point, allow CVBs to help you with links to their websites, build custom sites, once again, scalable to the size and complexity of the event. And then really email and social media really has some huge opportunities here. And here's a slide that kind of gives you at least some background on it, to be able to create a plan.
Yeah, and I think these headers, your conversation, once again, we're back to this conversation thing, but, are you wanting to do something generic or more custom? What's relevant? I think that your destination marketing partners can really help you understand your timing, and they've seen many groups come through their destinations that are much like yours. So they're able to support you in understanding what the most effective channels are. So Lauren, we mentioned the opportunity to see some examples of execution. So I want to share a few. Here's an example of Visit Denver's marketing resources, and in a really engaging way. We hope that this will compel planners to dive in. The next destination you're going to, go to the site of the Destination Marketing Organization, the CVB, and look under meetings and events and see what they have to offer. Denver's been called out as doing an excellent job. Here's an example from Pittsburgh, and how they created some very specific email marketing campaigns for a particular group or event. And again, so much of it is about not starting from scratch, but using what's already been done, which leads us kind of to pillar 4 now, Lauren, which I think this was the one that, at least in our consulting planners, they said, we need a grab and go marketplace. We need a convenience store of key marketing collateral. So
right.
Talk a little about how this works, Lauren.
Yeah, so this is, once again, you can see it right here in kind of the middle of the slide. How do we reduce the friction on behalf of the planner community, and making it readily available for you to be able to get some of the following examples of images and maps and videos, not having to pick up a phone, not having to send an email, but literally having a portal built out for the meeting planner to be able to access. Things that are maybe a little bit more complex or that do have questions. I think this is, once again, what I really found valuable personally coming out of this task force work was, how do we get our marketing teams that live in this space day to day talking with, maybe directly with the planner if you happen to handle marketing for your event and conference, or to your marketing representative on your team? And how do we really provide more robust resources for you to really, once again, highlight the destination's offerings? So there were some great examples that came from our destination partners.
Yeah, and I think, Lauren, what you said, the planners that consulted in our task force really said that, this easy access, this frictionless access. So again, here's a little pullout from Visit Denver. And again, I hope this encourages you to get to these sites and see all the cool stuff that is available. But this is what you said, Lauren, like you can grab a video, you can grab a postcard, you can grab a logo with ease. They even go on further in creating this sort of Excel spreadsheet. But I love this idea. And even if this isn't online, I know that your destination experts have this, which is, what are some key things to do? And then what are some articles that have been written about it that your attendees can link to? And then have them predetermine some little newsletter blurbs or a little social media bite that you can put with this particular article URL. And then a great photo makes it visual and appealing.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing in that example, Terry, not to get off the rails here too quickly, but particularly in the social space, those are all subject matter and probably blogs and original postings that were done by the Denver staff, probably with more of a forward-facing leisure offering, just within either their social media editorial calendar throughout the year. Now repurposed, bundled down, and brought down into a portal that the event planner can access and utilize and repurpose.
Absolutely, and we'll just brag about Cleveland a little bit, but here's just another example of a website, and you can see that in their meetings menu that they are offering up their e-marketing content, their maps, save the dates, things of that nature. So we just want to encourage planners to not recreate the wheel, not spend their precious staff time and energy in going out and trying to find or create all this, but to let them know that it is available. So Lauren, we're here at the end of our webinar, and we could almost do a whole nother new webinar on this.
That's for sure.
Right? This is a whole nother webinar, but I thought it was really interesting that the task force identified filling the room block. Planners putting some specific practices together to make sure that they could fill their room block is really the attendance promotions call to action. So what kind of advice can destination experts give planners to help them maximize their contracted room block?
Yeah, Terry, I think this is where, once again, one of the things that's really kind of happening at DI, which I'm really excited about, kind of having my board hat here on for a minute, is looking at a lot of the other projects that we've taken on. Really, this first one, understanding the delta, that really is a byproduct of a lot of study and research that's gone into looking at citywide type conventions that are bringing, say, 4,000 to 5,000, just as an example, into a market. But the event planners, to mitigate risk, they may only be, booking 1,000 rooms on peak. And historically, I think many of us were taught that, the rooms to attendance ratio is usually a little bit higher than that. But there, of course, are mitigating risks. So there are now some tools. There was a study that came out of DI about large room blocks that allows us to look at and analyze the delta between the number of attendees and the number of peak nights committed. And we've got some tools in our arsenal now to be able to help the planner to really show the true impact of not only the contracted rooms, but just looking at simple things like city and state and reg information and being able to then factor that into the true impact of a group. So once again, moving away from the old adage of transactional and it's all about room nights. For the attendee, with regards to things like booking inside the room block, those planners that maybe have not been at it for a while, or planners that maybe they're not CMPs, or they're not planning day to day, but that they have to get pulled in to plan a meeting. Really understanding some of that language to articulate that to your attendees, why it's important to stay inside the blocks. Redefine the cutoff date, really working on behalf of the planner and your hotel partners to make absolutely sure the cutoff dates are executed. And then, be aware of local factors. That's probably one of the biggest things that we can help with. What are some of the deciding factors sometimes in bringing an event into a destination? Are there other large events going on? Maybe there's a large festival in town or some sort of sporting event going on that may make it, if you've got a drive-in crowd, harder to get into a downtown core, or flights may become a little bit tougher based on just the compression in the market. And then I think the other thing, we you don't see a lot of it in Raleigh, but I know some of my peers in some of the bigger cities are. They're looking out for and helping, fight and, off pirates and poachers to room blocks. So we felt it was important, once again, kind of leading the mission as it related to consultative selling, strategic selling, and strategic partnerships. And really that became our fifth pillar in this process. And we were excited about it, including it.
Well, great work, Lauren. I think that the task force work will help to create greater consistencies amongst destinations. We hope that it will help make planners more aware of the opportunities to utilize the resources, and ultimately, greatest opportunity is to just really create stronger partnerships in the industry and be better support and better planning partners for our planner community. So we'll close. I will ask everyone who has a question, and I can see that Maria just put one in, so start typing in your questions for Lauren. If you're looking for a CVB's website and you're not sure where to find it, you can always look at our industry portal, empowerMINT.com, and find your CVB expert there. You will receive your CMP credit next week in an email. Please make sure to look in your spam because it often ends up there. And then this is our last webinar of the year. We'll be back in January. We're quiet in December, but we thank all of you who have supported our webinars. And if you would like to look at blog.empowerMINT.com, you can see all of our 2017 webinar recordings there. And it's a good menu, so we hope you'll do that as well. So I'm just going to quickly, as you're putting in your questions, I'm going to introduce our sponsor, Chris Wessel, and let Chris speak to you for about a minute, and then we'll turn back to Lauren to answer your question. Hey, Chris.
Hi all. Thanks so much, Terry and Lauren. Great job. Awesome information.
Thank you, Chris.
I mean, I think it's critical that when they're promoting their event, that they do know where they can go to get that, to get the information, the content that they need, instead of redeveloping it again. So I think that's awesome. Just a little bit about us. ePro Direct is a hospitality marketing agency. We were established about 16 years ago. About 6 weeks ago, we actually launched a brand new program that we're super excited about. It's called Booking Community, and it's a travel booking website just like any other popular booking engine. However, ours is stocked with unpublished rates that are only available through our closed user group, which is comprised of multiple associations and organizations. So we offer associations a way for their members or employees to book leisure hotel room rates that are anywhere between 30 to 70% less than any other public travel website like Expedia, Travelocity, or even Hotel Direct websites. We have now a little over 800,000 hotels participating worldwide. And our users can also book flights and cars and entertainment and attraction tickets. And the members are excited to be able to get free access to unpublished rates that they can't get anywhere else, which helps drive membership value and retention rates. And the association wins as well because they actually generate a new revenue stream through our revenue share program that we put together. And the best part is it's all easily integrated into an association with absolutely no investment. So they only take out their wallets to put money in it. There's never a dime that they actually invest in it. So we're super excited. We've had an overwhelming response right now. We're bringing on 2 to 3 new associations per day. And over the last 2.5 weeks, we've been growing by about 1 new member every 15 seconds. So it's been overwhelming, to say the least. We were not expecting, we knew it would do pretty well, but weren't expecting this. So if anyone feels like their organization could benefit from this and the revenue share and increasing membership value for their association, all with no investment, you can go to bookingcommunity.com, and right there you can schedule a quick 15-minute walkthrough, program walkthrough. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
And Chris, we're all, I saw a question come up on the board. Can you give the audience your email address?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. It's Chris, C-H-R-I-S, .Wessel, W-E-Z-E-L, @ bookingcommunity.com. It's really a pretty amazing program. It's definitely something any association should consider if they're looking to drive membership retention and generate revenue with zero money out of pocket. It's really pretty cool.
That's great. Well, I see we have some questions, Elaine, for Lauren. So why don't we turn to both, looks like Maria and Nicole both have some questions for Lauren. So why don't we start there?
Okay, sure. Great job, Lauren. Thank you. Great information. Thanks. So the first question is, how would you suggest addressing flight compression over your dates when there's a very large local event over the same dates of your meeting?
Boy, that's a zinger right out of the gate. Well, I think, from our vantage point, we've got a close relationship with our airport and our airport authority at RDU International. So I think part of that is probably working through not only our airport, but then some of our regional carrier representatives to try to take a deep dive into lift. That's a connectivity that a CVB representative should be able to make on behalf of the planner to the local airport to really look at trends on the availability of varying flights. We serve about 50 markets nonstop. Sometimes that serves us very well. Sometimes, depending on what region you're coming out of, can be a bit of a challenge. And then we try to bring our airline experts to the table and get some dialogue going there from a strategic standpoint.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. And then the next one has to do with pirates and the poachers at the room block. So any suggestions to deal? The question is, these can become quite aggressive and are aimed at our vendors primarily, as these are the web and contact, where they have their web and contact information attached. And Nicole, who's asking this question, did say she does alert and post these as warnings on their web pages and in their communication, but any other suggestions?
Yeah, it's a good one. I think probably working back through, the Bureau, we don't deal with it a lot because of, the sheer scalable size of Raleigh, but I know some of my friends in some of the tier 1 markets do. I think that then once again becomes kind of a consultative role of the CVB to have the dialogue with the planner, to also potentially connect the planner with some other groups that have come in the market previously. Maybe if it's your first time into a new tier 1 market, let the CVB help you connect you to other planners and figure out what kind of tactics they took. Typically, our services teams within the mix of the CVB world, once again, scalable up and down, should have a pretty good handle on what's going in the market, where there may have been flashpoints or problems in the past, and how the local CVB collectively worked with the planner and the hotels to overcome it. I think your housing, if you do work with a housing entity, somebody like a Lanyon, Passkey, or a Meeting Max, I think can help in that endeavor as well. And then really try to, once again, work collectively in some sort of communication process. If there's a way that the CVB can help communicate that to the attendees above and beyond what you're already doing, we would certainly be all in to help on that front.
That's great, Lauren. Thank you. There's another question about, just any suggestions you have or recommendations on the challenge of getting people to register earlier for their meetings instead of waiting until the last minute.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that could be a whole other session in itself. I think we alluded to that earlier in Pillar 5. But I would say, once again, scalable. If it's an ongoing issue for the group, and in the discovery stage of Pillar 1, and in the consultative dialogue, the planner brings that up. Inevitably, the question should ask, what's been working, what's been not working in your previous destinations. And if that is brought to the forefront, maybe there's a way to work with the CVB, once again negotiable, that the CVB can offer some sort of incentive to registrants. Whether it's something as simple as just some sort of local experiential pass on, or some sort of discounted ticketed event, or something that could help incentivize attendees to register early. By a certain cutoff date, the CVB could work in partnership with the event organization, to give 100 or 200 or whatever it may be to the first a couple hundred registrants, some sort of incentive in the form of a product or something that they can, that they can activate once they're on site.
Okay, that's great. And that is addressing, like you said, the registering a little earlier. And then, so probably one of our last questions here, and it's a big elephant in the room as well, but we've recently been experiencing clients having to pay attrition at hotels due to guests booking outside of their block and opting for Airbnb. Do you have any suggestions on how to combat this growing trend of the attrition and the rooms out of the block?
Yeah, once again, that could be a whole other, it's been an elephant in the room for a while. I will tell you that I don't know if there's a complete workaround of it to combat it, other than to continue to try to gather intel, do your best, do your due diligence as it relates to really trying to hone in on your room block. I will tell you that the CVBs now do have the ability to pull in reports for the destination on a monthly basis, and I think we could align that with some of the other tools that we use through Smith Travel Research when we're looking at, we gather both weekly and monthly data from STR, and that really shows us occupancy and where those spikes are, and a lot of times those can be directly tied back to groups. This new reporting mechanism now allows us to track short-term rental usage in the market as well. Once again, I think that probably speaks to the ability to at least help the planner articulate the total impact of the destination. Does it necessarily address the outside the block and putting, the group at risk from an attrition standpoint? It may not. But once again, I think it's also a situation, what we alluded to in one of the pillars, and that, particularly in Pillar 5, is helping you craft language as to why it's imperative that your attendees stay inside the block, and how they are putting the group at risk. And that's something that many CVBs work with their planners on. So that's an ongoing issue. I think that's one that's going to have to continue to evolve, and we need to continue to have dialogue. I unfortunately don't have a simple answer for a very complex issue.
Well, Lauren, I think
that is great. Yep. Thank you, Terry. Over to you.
Questions?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
the conclusion of the questions? Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone. So many stayed on for questions. That's always such a good sign, Lauren, to what a great job that you've done. So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service to the meetings industry and all of the folks, many of which are online today, who were also part of our task force. We hope we've given planners some fuel for thought here, food for thought, and that you will really look at these 5 pillars at the next time that you head out to take a meeting into any destination, and that you will start the attendance promotion practice right from the very beginning when you're putting together your RFP. It's not something that comes much later down the pike when your group is booked and gets turned over to services. The earlier the better, and the earlier certainly the more opportunities. So Lauren, thank you so much.
Terry, thank you. Yeah, I would just conclude really quickly, one 5-second snippet. Really excited about the work that the task force put out. We did put it in the form of some e-documentation for our members. This is something that we're rolling out right now, and this is something that we're actually going to be presenting to both our sales and our services teams at our Sales and Service Summit in Chicago here, middle part of next month. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of this, I think, across a multitude of channels from the CVBs. Ask those questions about attendance promotion and what are the tools and resources that the CVB community can provide you with. You're going to see a lot more of it. We're really excited about it.
Well, in closing, Lauren, again, our thanks and our appreciation, and I gotta send out a shout out. We recently completed a blog post on behalf of Travel Alberta, and Jeannie Silverman, who is the manager of the events team at Kumon North America, had this to say, and I just want to share it because I thought it was really cool. Jeannie said, "Marketing is one of the hardest challenges that I faced, and the team at Travel Alberta has such a variety of ready-to-use marketing materials that it made marketing the destination the easiest part of my planning process." So
there you go.
Right? Thank you, Jeannie, for that. Thank you, Travel Alberta, for being a great resource. And to all our destinations and all our planners, we wish you great partnerships. And thank you very much for attending.